going on, Horror Horde? This is your boy Horror Gamer back with another video for you. And in this video is another Horror Gamer Reviews video. And now, before I get into it, you saw in the title what it's going to be. Now, before I get into it, you know your boy Horror Gamer's videos has spoilers all day, every day. So, if you haven't seen it, first off, shame on you. Second off, go see it, come back, leave a comment in the comment section, let me know what you think. And, well, from here on out, it's spoilers all day, so I'm going to give you a second to pause it. Alright, so, with all that being said, everything from here on out, it's on you. So, as you can see in the title, the movie that your boy Horror Gamer is going to be reviewing today is, boom, From Dusk Till Dawn 2, Texas Blood Money. Now, what can I say about From Dusk Till Dawn 2? First off, let me get into some of the particulars here. You know, unfortunately, From Dusk Till Dawn 2 really got rocked in Rotten Tomatoes. It only got a 9% in Rotten Tomatoes. So that shows you how much people, like your critics, enjoy this kind of movie. 9% isn't that good. Now the Google user score, see I started to do a little research now. Now the Google user score is a little bit better. It's at 78%. So this is basically telling me that this is a movie for the fans, not for the critics. Okay, and it's directed by Scott, I got my notes here. Scott Spiegel. And it was, believe it or not, it was actually produced by Robert Rodriguez. And if you don't know who he is, he produced the first one. He has a lot of movies with Quentin Tarantino. They basically work together. They have their whole clique of groups, and I think it started with this. And the release date on this was March 16th, 1999. So it was a little while ago. All right, now the cast of characters in this movie, it does have a pretty decent cast, and you'll see. Okay, Danny Trejo's in it again. He plays Razor Charlie, which is like the head vampire at the bar. And if you don't know who Danny Trejo is, he was in the first one. He was the bartender in the first one, and he also played Machete. So look him up. If you don't know who Danny Trejo is, look him up. And of course, if you don't know who this guy is, you don't know cinema. Robert Patrick. And how do we know Robert Patrick? Well, he played the T-1000 in the Terminator 2. So look that up. He plays Buck in this movie. Bo Hopkins, you would probably know him from A-Team. He plays Charles Drew in A-Team. He's Sheriff Otis, okay? He's basically the antagonist kind of in this movie, along with Robert Patrick's character as the movie goes on. You also have Dwayne Whitaker, which you might know him from Feast. He played Boss Man. He plays Luther in this, which is like, I guess, the main guy. Robert Patrick's character plays basically second fiddle to him, so he's like the leader of the pack. Okay, and Moose Watson is in this as well. And if you don't know who he is, you would know him as the fisherman in I Know What You Did Last Summer, and also you would know him as what's his name? He was in Prison Break. He was the old guy with the cat. What is his name? Charles West. Charles West. Sorry, I had to review my notes here. He was Charles West in Prison Break, the old guy who had the cat. And so he's in it, and he plays a character by the name of CW, which is just a sad-ass old guy. He's a rodeo clown trying to get by. Then you got Brett Harrelson, and yes, Harrelson, he is Woody Harrelson's brother. And if you haven't seen him in anything, he was in People vs. Larry Flint. He actually played Woody Harrelson's brother in that, Jimmy Flint. So he plays Roy Bob, and this character's kind of like an idiot, like a lovable idiot. And people his teammates kind of don't like him because he gets everybody in trouble and he's always fucking up. And then you got Raymond Cruz, who he was in a movie recently called The Curse of La Llorona. He was the father in it who actually took on La Llorona and tried to help the family. He plays Jesus in this, or Jesus, whatever they call him in it. And you also got a cameo appearance by the one and only legend himself, Bruce Campbell. He plays Barry, which is a character that is actually on a TV show that's in the movie. He only lasts a couple minutes, gets killed by a bunch of bats, but he's in it. He makes a cool cameo. It was good to see him in it. And he was young too. He was young Bruce Campbell. So it was pretty good to see Bruce Campbell in this, even if it was only for a couple minutes. Now, basically, the plot of this movie is Robert Patrick is getting all these people together to do a bank heist in Mexico. Dwayne Whitaker's character, he's the leader. He just escaped from jail, and he's going to be meeting them in Mexico. So, Buck, CW, Jesus, Roy Bob, and Luther. Luther is Dwayne's character, which is he's like the leader of the group. So basically, what happens is, as Luther's traveling into Mexico to meet these guys, he hits a fucking bat, a huge bat. And when he hits this bat, it gets stuck in his grill, and when he opens the hood, he plugs it. And he ends up walking to the nearest bar, which, if you don't know, is the Titty Twister from Dusk Till Dawn 1. So he goes in there, and if you don't know much about From Dusk Till Dawn 1, I'll give you a real quick recap. It's a bar full of vampires. It's right above their lair. The end. So basically, he goes into the Titty Twister, and he runs into, what the hell is his name? God, I just said it. Danny Trejo's character, Razor Charlie, and he says, "Let me get some tequila. Can I use your phone?" So he calls Buck up and tells him, I got hit by I hit a bat, but this guy over here at this bar is going to give me a ride. So as Razor Charlie is giving Luther a ride, they drive by the Jeep, and fucking Razor Charlie's like, you said you hit a bat. He's like, yeah, and I have to shoot it too. And then Danny Trejo gives him this evil fucking eye. He's like, well, you see, and so they stop at the Jeep, and he's like, well, where's the fucking bat? You said you hit a bat. Where's the fucking bat? And then he's like, I don't see why this matters. And then as he's talking to Razor Charlie, which is Danny Trejo's character is walking into the desert. He's like, Victor. So basically, it was one of Danny Trejo's brotherhood. So he pulls out this guy who's all beat and shot the fuck up, and he asks him, is this the guy who did it to you? He said yes. And then he falls over, and then Danny Trejo turns into this fucking bat. So Luther plugs him and jumps into the truck and tries to drive off, while Victor, the other vampire, comes in and bites him. So basically turning Luther into a vampire. Well, now Luther goes to El Coyote, which is the hotel. It's like a sleazy little fucking hotel that they're staying at. And Jesus is banging this Mexican hooker. And she goes in and gets a shower, and Luther comes in. He's a bat. He now, in this movie, they turn into bats. So he flies over, and he kills this Mexican hooker in the bathroom. And then he comes out, Jesus sees him there, and, sorry, I got something in my mouth. Fucking dog hair, sorry. Anyway, sees him come out and walks in and sees this Mexican hooker dead, bleeding, blood everywhere. And then he says something to Luther, and then Luther vamps out on him. And they start fighting and shit, and he picks up a Bible, and the cross on the Bible is hurting Luther. And so he runs in the bathroom here. The Mexican hooker turns into a vampire and attacks him from behind. He ends up cutting her head off with a piece of glass from the mirror and jumps out the window. Well, as he jumps out the window, fucking Luther just materializes right next to him and bites him in the neck, hence turning him into a vampire. So they go meet up with the other three, and they go to do the heist at night, of course, because they're vampires. So they get to this bank, and Luther flies in through the tunnel vent and kills the guard and lets him in. Now, as they're doing their thing, Luther sees CW, and CW is drilling in, and they basically get into a fight because Luther vamps out because he sees his neck pulsating, throws his head through a fucking, like, well, I can only, it looks kind of like a jail cell, but it's like where they keep the money, and his head gets stuck, and Luther bites him, turning him into a vampire. You see where I'm going here? They're all getting turned into vampires. So the police show up with Detective Otis, and boy, it turns into a fucking shit show. So Robert Patrick's character Bucky tries to leave, and he grabs Brett Harrelson's character Roy Bob, and they try to get out, and they start getting shot at. These fuckers don't play around. They after their money, they gonna die. So the Mexican government's shooting at them, and they run back in, and they get split up, and somehow Roy Bob ends up getting turned into a vampire. So now the whole group except Robert Patrick is a vampire. He jumps out the window because they're attacking him. He gets stabbed in the leg by Jesus, and he manages to get out, and they handcuff him and put him in the backseat. Okay. Here's where it gets a little crazy, okay? So that big ending climatic fight scene, about 100 Mexican police and everything are surrounding this building, and they're, trying to get these people out. They send the first group in. These vampires make quick work of them. They're 3-4 shots, they're done. And then they come walking out with fucking machine guns, like heavy artillery, military grade shit. And they just start, I'm talking about laying waste to like everything. And they just start going on a massive killing spree because they're vampires. They can't be, there's certain things that you need to do to kill them, and these people don't realize that they're vampires and this is how you kill them. So they're shooting them and ain't doing nothing to them. So they're just fucking biting people, murdering people left to right. And then the sun starts to come up. So here they are just destroying everybody while they're still robbing the bank. They're still robbing this bank. So one of the people, Jesus, is off loading the trunk of the car full of fucking cash, while the other three are just laying waste to everybody. And then Jesus tries to do one thing that pisses Luther off. He tries to drive off. And Luther's like, what the fuck are you doing? He pulls the key out of the ignition. And Jesus is like, I'm trying to get the car ready like you told me to. He's like, if you weren't already dead, I'd kill you. And he throws him out of the fucking car, and then he ends up going and fighting off people and shit. And as the sun's coming up, they go run. It almost looks like they're gonna die, okay? But then an eclipse happens. So an eclipse comes and blots out the sun. Guess what? No sun, no death to vampires. So now they start murdering people again. And at this time, they got rid of everybody except for Otis, his deputy, and Bucky. So it's 3 versus 4. 3 humans versus 4 vampires. And they get him. Bucky ends up fucking stabbing the shit out of CW in the chest. I think Bucky kills them all. No. Otis kills Roy Bob. Bucky kills the other... no, Roy Bob burns up. Who the hell does... Okay, sorry. Otis, I believe, kills CW. Yeah, Otis kills CW. Bucky ends up killing Jesus. He throws him on the hood of Jesus' car. It has Texas Longhorns on it, so it pokes him through the chest. And then, as Roy Bob and Luther are trying to drive away after CW and Jesus are dead, Bucky's in the back seat, and he stabs through the seat and kills Luther. And then him and Roy Bob sit there and fight, and Roy Bob's starting to talk shit, you know what I mean? And he doesn't realize that the sun's now starting to come up. So he tries to make a mad dash for the car. Sun comes up, he burns up, dies. All the vampires are dead. And then the next scene, for me, it's kind of a scene that I enjoy it, but I don't like it at the same time. It's a scene of dialogue between Bucky and Otis. Like, they just got done fighting an undead army of 4, basically. And they have a discussion about smoking. So they're sitting there after the sun's up, all the vampires are dead, and Bucky offers Otis a cigarette and is like, hey, you want one? And Otis is like, no, I gave him up. And Bucky's like, oh yeah? He's like, how you know, did you use the patch? Like they just didn't get done fighting vampires, okay? And no, I quit cold turkey. And then Bucky asks Otis, do you miss him? And then Bucky's like, after a good hot cup of coffee, after a good meal, and after a good hard fuck. And that's what he says in the movie. And I'm thinking to myself, like I just said, you guys just got done fighting 4 fucking vampires. And the last ounce of dialogue you have for each other before Bucky runs away is about quitting smoking. It was cool because, you know, it kind of showed the friendship that they had, kind of. Even though that Bucky was an outlaw and Otis was a detective, they still kind of had that camaraderie with each other, the mutual respect. But it seemed out of place for me in that particular moment. But other than that, it was a great movie. It was funny. It was fun. You know, it wasn't made for the critics. It was made for the fans, which I really like because they didn't listen to what critics say. They did it for the people, fans of the franchise, which is awesome. So I have to give From Dusk Till Dawn 2, Texas Blood and Money, 8.5. It was fun. A couple things didn't make sense, but all in all, it was a great watch. It was fun to watch. But all right, H0rr0rr, that was my horror gamer reviews for you today. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think about the movie. If you watched it, if you own it, if you liked it, if you hated it. And don't forget to subscribe. Hit the ding-a-ling-ding-ding bell over here. That way you're always informed when your boy Horror Gamer throws up a new video. I'm going to try to do at least 3 a week. You might get more. So don't forget to hit that button. And until next time, H0rr0rr, this has been your boy Horror Gamer saying, as always, don't fear the darkness. Embrace it.